Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining me on the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. I thank you so much for joining me for today's show. Well, today we're going to start Matthew chapter 18, and there's a lot of good stuff going on in this chapter. Well, let's be honest, it's the Bible. There's a lot of good stuff going on everywhere. But I'm really excited about starting this chapter. And today we're going to start off with Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through 4. So again, Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through 4 say, "At that time the disciples came to Jesus, saying, 'Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?' And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, 'Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.'" Alright, so these verses here are used by some to say that, we shouldn't study about theology or anything like that. And that's a total misrepresentation. It's a total misinterpretation of what Jesus is trying to say here. So what is Jesus trying to say? Well, to become like children, we have to have total dependence on God. We have to let go of those earthly attachments and fully rely on His grace, His mercy, His provision. And when in speaking with the disciples, Jesus is demanding this simplicity. Because remember, they were the start of the church. They had to go and lead the church from its very infancy with a spirit of humility and a spirit of servanthood. And just like them, we are called to trust. We're called to trust God for that daily provision and the grace necessary to be saved. Now, there's a difference between being childlike and childish. There's a big difference here. So we're not to be childish, like arguing over petty things, like wanting to be in charge of this week's potluck and trying to prove to so-and-so that I'm worthy to do this job. Sometimes we get caught up in those things that serve to build up our pride more than they are meant to serve the body of believers, to serve the church. That's being childish. Now, being childlike is a whole other matter. Being childlike means that we have humble and sincere hearts. That we are doing our best to put Jesus above and beyond everything else in our lives and to trust. That is being childlike. So what areas of your life and my life, I'll ask myself this question: are we being childish in? How can we take steps to become childlike, like Jesus is telling us today? So something to think about. God bless you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. Have a great day. I'll catch you tomorrow. God bless you.